Meeting is being conducted electronically pursuant to Governor Bill Lee, Executive Order 16. I would ask for a motion that conducting the meeting electronically is necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes. First on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the minutes and make a motion to approve.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Got a second. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is Rutherford County surplus property inventory.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members, Mayor. Just an update on our Rutherford County surplus property inventory. First of all, we have drafted a letter, and that letter will be going over to our county attorney for approval to send out, what we talked about last month, and offering these properties and price, and we will get feedback from the attorney on that, and then we'll send those out. And actually, this will be the meeting right after this one that we will talk actually a little bit more about that. Under our delinquent real property tax committee there. We do have 3 pieces of property here that we're updating you on tonight, and I have Mike Hughes, our county engineer, as well as Doug DeMasi, our planning director, to comment on a couple of these. The first one is one that we have talked about. It's out on Miller Street out in Christiana. It's 0.28 acres, and it's actually the back side of the church over there on Miller Street. And we have talked to the church, and they're having a committee meeting about that, so we don't have any feedback from them yet over on that piece of property. They're doing it Sunday. Okay. Commissioner Buchanan has just mentioned that they're doing that meeting on Sunday, so we'll get some feedback here hopefully next week then on that piece of property. Mike, if you'll talk to us a little bit about Thompson Lane, and Doug, I think you had some comments as well on Thompson Lane property there. This is 1.72 acres.
Pulling it up now.
Mike is pulling that up. We had talked about this in previous meetings. This is where we sold TDOT a little inkling or strip a piece of property because they're getting ready to widen Thompson Lane there. And so that has been done and cleared, and now we're looking at this piece of property. It's matter of fact, you've got that on your computers right there. If you look that up, it's 1.72 acres, 74,776 square feet, actually. And it's at the corner of Siegel Road and Thompson. And it's this property adjoins that substation right there. And I think it's the Larry Kirk substation, Mayor. And this is something that we wanted to bring before you and show you. We had to go before the city and talk to them about the zoning over on that, and I swear I'm going to let Mike and Doug talk to you about that in a minute.
Yes, sir, Deputy. The property is currently zoned RS15, which is residential single-family 15,000 square foot lots, and what we were thinking that we could enhance the value of the property and asking the city, said, what would you feel comfortable if the county applied for a rezoning of the property and try to up the value of it before we put it on the market? Well, Doug Tomasi, former city employee and got a lot of friends at the city, talked to them, and they said they would only feel comfortable with a planned development. And a planned development means you've got essentially what you're going to do, and you put it in a pattern book. You've got, a layout of the site, the building. You've got to have architectural drawings. So that's a lot more involved than just a blanket zoning that we were hoping for. But the area is in transition. There are planned developments. There's one right across the street is a residential planned development, but there's also some that are commercial in nature a little bit farther to the south on Siegel. But this is a nice piece of property. It's got all city utilities, city water, city sewer, mostly level piece of property, not in a flood zone. And it's going to be, like Deputy Sandlin said, on the corner of a soon-to-be 5-lane state route. So this is going to be a nice piece of property that could bring a lot of value. So we're just kind of thinking, how do we need to proceed with this? Let me see if I can find it.
So we need to make a formal request then to...
Well, if they're looking for a planned development, that might be more than what we want to be involved with. Mm-hmm. But it originally was carved off to be an EMS station, but for some reason the EMS station was built a little bit farther to the east on the main driveway into the Siegel High School. You can see it right here above the ball field and on this side right there. So it was never utilized for what it was carved off for, but it is county property, and it's like I said, it's a corner lot with city utilities, 1.72 acres, even after we sold 550 square feet thereabouts to the state for their road widening project.
Mike, what's in the back of it?
In the back of it is more Siegel High School property. And it does hold water a little bit. There is a small depression right here, but there is storm drainage just right here on the corner of the property that if somebody were to develop that and put in a stormwater management area, a pond or something, they've got a storm pipe already right there in the road to tie to. So, I mean, and I do believe it does have gas. I have not heard back from Atmos just yet, but there is a gas stub on the east side of this road.
Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, since we sold TDOT, that small acreage out front, do we have any indication of when they're going to start construction?
I believe they said it would be within the next 2 years. They're
next
still
2 years?
Yes, sir. They're still acquiring right-of-way. The plans have been completed. Okay. They're still acquiring right-of-way along Thompson Lane, so that's what's taking so long.
Yeah. So I would pose this to the committee: is it better to put a sign on and sell it for sale now, or do we wait until the 5-lane activity has actually begun within the next 2 years? Which might help us drive the price up. Be my recommendation not to go with the planned development and go through all that expense on our behalf. This is a timing issue, so I guess the committee would need to wait and see when's the best time to sell it and get the highest price for the least amount we have to spend on it.
Any discussion from the committee members? Any idea? Any input?
Set on it until...
Piece of property?
Doug, would it be out of character for this property to be zoned like a commercial local zoning for the city of Murfreesboro? Come on up. Yes, sir. Talk to us a little bit about the zoning, and then I'll mention a couple other things.
Yes, thank you, and good evening, everybody. When we talked with the city regarding this property, we asked them, would it be, like you said, unreasonable for us to expect some sort of a commercial property or maybe like an office zoning? They have zones similar to ours. They're different, but similar types. So we have commercial versus office, institutional type zones. After speaking with city officials, and they got back with us and said, well, they really didn't see this being commercial, like in the form of like a convenience market, gas station, that kind of thing. They felt more comfortable along the lines of office type development or like institutional, like the church across the street or daycare, something along those lines. But they weren't comfortable with recommending any kind of a specific zone like Deputy Sandlin was recommending, possibly like they have a commercial local zone or they have office zones and things like that. They would rather see something more specific. That daycare, which is actually down Siegel Road, Mike had alluded to that a little earlier regarding commercial type PUDs, which is basically what that is. That was approved as a planned development, that daycare right down Siegel Road from this property. So they envision something like that on this particular site.
Any questions from any committee members? Doug?
Mr. Chairman, do we need to conclude each of these with a motion, or?
I would say so.
I make a motion that we set this piece aside for some till the timing improves. If we put any effort into any rezoning, energy, effort, expense, or even hiring an appraiser, all that's going to change in 18 months, 24 months. So I would make a motion that we keep this one on the back burner.
Got a motion to hold on to this piece of property as is till the future development in that area. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a second from Commissioner Gannon. Any more discussion? Not call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch? Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee members, our next one is one you've seen before too, and this is the 2701 Thurston Drive. It's off of Old Nashville Highway. This property backs up to the rock quarry, and I think they do cement as well as hot mix out of that area, but this dead ends into this property. We've got 0.84 of an acre on this piece of property. So this is in Commissioner Rod Key's district here. Mike, you want to mention utilities and location, zoning, and so forth?
Yes, sir. I believe it is zoned institutional, and you can see it's the yellow outlined property right here. And I'll turn on the zoning, and you can see what Deputy Sandlin was talking about. The area right behind it, the asphalt plant, Lojack Quarry, is zoned heavy industrial. Now Thurston, let me back up and say Thurston is a private drive. It's not a county road. It is a private drive. And on the, I guess, southeast side of Thurston is office professional, and the subject property itself is institutional, with the balance being residential medium density. And the utilities, I believe, I'll turn that on. There is a 2-inch water line on Thurston, a 6-inch water line on Old Nashville Highway, no city sewer available. There is a plat that was generated for the property, and I can pull that up real quick, where the property was combined together. Hold on just a second. kind of a washed out, forgive me. But you can kind of see in here, and I'll zoom in a little bit. This is the property, and this had an old house on it, and there's the septic tank. There are no records of the septic system with TDEC, so it was installed before they kept records. So the lot was generated to become a volunteer fire hall. And one caveat that I should add, that there is a reversionary clause, I think, in the deed that says if it does not become a volunteer fire hall, it has to revert back to the original property owners. LoJack was one of them, I think, gave the southern part, and another property owner gave this part. So that one's got a little hiccup in it.
Well, what we're trying to do is smooth out these hiccups. So
Yes, sir.
that's in the process of going through these properties. So basically, before we offer this one up for a sale or sending out a letter, then we would contact these two property owners, and that's what we're asking the committee tonight, is revert back to them, since it's in the deed, to go back to them, or are they fully giving us a quick claim deed on the property? So either way, something has to happen if we're not going to do anything with this property.
We got a question. Are we taking care of that property? Are we mowing it?
Yes, sir. They try to mow the properties, all of it that we have on our rolls as far as inventory. They mow them twice a year, and that's also in our code, that we either bush hog them or cut them, maintain them in some sort of fashion. And that's what we can cut. Now, if it's trees and rocks and stuff on them, we can't do that. Then we don't cut that part.
How come this didn't go into,
Commissioner Cook?
how come we didn't go ahead and do a volunteer fire department there?
I have no idea, Commissioner Cook. Could be location or something. I'm not for sure.
I thought we were needing.
They don't go there.
I thought we were in need of land for the fire departments. That's what I'm asking. Is it too close to the rock quarry that?
I'm not for sure.
We'd have to get together probably with the volunteer fire department in that area to ask why they didn't want to go there. We can do that, I guess. We'll get together with volunteer fire department and ask them why they didn't want to go there, and come back next meeting with an answer.
Well, I think closest volunteer is probably Amival Road on that side, and then you've got our paid, Rutherford County firefighters is on Old Nashville Highway on down back into town, on the other side of the railroad tracks coming back in. So we've got the location there, but I don't know the history about when this was donated to the county.
Yeah, if you could see note 12 on the screen, it says the new parcel created by this subdivision shall be used for the construction, maintenance, and operation of a fire station by the Rutherford County Volunteer Fire Department. No residential use shall be permitted on the parcel without the approval of the Rutherford County Planning Department and Health Department.
We have a date on that, Mike?
Yes, sir.
1918.
Tax stamp is February of 2010.
2009.
I'm looking at the deed. I'm looking at the quitclaim on the back, the warranty.
Okay.
The warranty deed.
It looks like it was signed in 2009. I'm trying to find the
11609.
It's interesting, Mr. Chairman, because I used to be president of the Rutherford County Volunteer Fire Department.
Yeah.
I never knew that was,
I didn't either.
back in the day, I never knew that it was ours, but it no longer exists. When I was in the Senate, they had asked me to come on and help them, and we were actually over in Jim Smythe's building off of Old Salem, where the Rutherford Volunteer Fire Department was stationed. And I don't think that anybody there knew it existed. And then so it disappeared and folded into when this body, along with Mayor Burgess, created the Rutherford County Fire Department, and which Mr. Farley is now the chief of that, and kind of blended in Blackman, Salem, and Rutherford into kind of one, and became existing the paid department. So Rutherford doesn't exist anymore.
So again, I would say that if this body would want to give us the permission to go to these property owners that donated this land to us, and for them either quit claim it to us, for us to sign off on it. Not really, I don't think that's the proper terminology as quit claim, because we have it, they've given it to us. But for us to sell it or to do something else with, or give it back to them.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Dodd?
one question. We had a public hearing on a planning commission rezoning. Was that next door to this, or does that have any impact?
Is that the one that failed?
It passed, I believe, with some caveats.
Yeah, Mr. Dodd, the property you're referring to, it's that area that Mike is highlighting, right in that area with his cursor. The zoning that just went through the planning commission, I guess that was just last week or 2 weeks ago or so, they're changing a small portion of that commercial neighborhood. They were asking for commercial general. It was recommended for commercial services. That'll be coming before the Board of Commissioners at next month's meeting. But that really doesn't have any impact on the institutional property.
I don't think that affects this conversation. But I would make a motion that we adhere to the warranty deed and offer it back per the deed to the respective owners, and then deal with whatever the consequence is.
Got a motion? Do I hear a second? I second. Got a second from
Is that-
Commissioner Johnson in discussion?
Clarification, just, is that going back to the two property owners that donated, or they sign off and say, y'all do whatever?
I would suggest
Repeat
that,
motion if she did.
so my motion is that we adhere to the warranty deed and the note 12 and offer it back, because we failed to achieve what was in the deed. If that doesn't succeed, we'll deal with what might come next. But we don't need this piece of property with no sewer, no water, I don't think.
That good, Commissioner Johnson? Okay. Any other discussion? If not, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Cook? Yes. Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch? Chairman McAdoo?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. The rest of my things are at the end.
Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is the Goldstein Building.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is on the agenda tonight by a motion from the purchasing committee. So when the purchasing committee met last week, we had received a bid. We only had one bidder for a new HVAC. The price that Mr. Mankin had gotten on that last year, the bid came in even higher this year, and we only had one bidder. Two bidders.
Two, but one of them's not going to qualify.
Yeah, one would not qualify because he was the cheaper bidder, but they said they left off a lot of stuff. So here's, after that discussion and purchasing, Commissioner Cook made the motion, seconded by Chairman McAdoo, to send it to the Property Management Committee for discussion. And this is probably a piece of discussion that we need to be serious about, because it can make a lot of difference in what we do with the Goldstein's building. The price that came in was, the highest bid was how much?
$949.
$949,000 for a new HVAC system. And so both commissioners felt like that this warranted some discussion. Do we want to still continue to pour that kind of money into a building that's really chopped up, old? And so I bring to you tonight a couple of options to let you all discuss, if we choose not to put that much money in it. Before I do that, Ben, do you have any idea over the last 4 years how much money we've put into that building? And roof, electrical, anything?
Well, probably in the last 4 years, we really haven't spent a lot of money on that building, actually. I mean, in the past, when it was getting off the ground, it was a little before my time. Right when I was starting, it was going through a major renovation, and then we redid the front facade.
The facade almost fell off, right?
Yeah, it was when they pulled they were just doing a little facelift, and when they took the stones off the front, the front of the building was about 8 inches out of plumb, and so that was just a facelift that turned into a fairly major repair all of a sudden. The roof that's on it is probably 12 years old. The air conditioning, all the air conditioning that's in there, we've replaced them one at a time as they've gone bad. We haven't done a major overhaul on the air conditioning since I've been here. It's just as one unit goes out, we'll just replace that one.
So there's two options, and one option that Commissioner Cook brought up to me. I'll discuss the first option. The first option is to raise that building and build a new one. It would probably cost you more to rebuild it. I think we were talking to Brett over here, the superintendent on the new judicial building. He thought, what did he tell us last week, Ben?
For a new
$5-6 million.
I think he quoted it at, did he say $2.50?
Yes, sir.
A foot, I think.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying.
$2.50 square foot to build a building. If we raised it, took it all the way down to the basement floor. But then you have the issue, what are we going to do with all of our departments over there? They have to be displaced as you're building a new building, and then you'd probably have to add a little bit more to keep in with the keeping of the downtown area, make it architecturally look old, so that probably cost you a little bit more money. And the second option that I discuss with you tonight is something that Commissioner Cook asked me about, and I was part of the process in 1991 when she and I were elected to the commission, and Commissioner Sandlin in 1990. Well, that started the process of building the new city hall and the current library. And Ben's daddy, Mr. Mankin, put me on the committee to meet with the city to represent our half of the parking garage and the library, which we own half of the library, and we still pay those quarterly bills for maintenance, cleaning, electrical, phones. I think there's a phone down there. We pay part of that bill, and landscaping. And also the library. The library has its own budget, but we still share in that with the city. But at that time, Joe B. Jackson was the mayor, and he came to me during one of the meetings I was at down at the old city hall, and they said, while we're doing this, is there an interest from the county in going ahead and putting in for future expansion for the city, putting in the support piers that would support a 6-story office building for the county. And that would be placed where the gazebo is. If you are familiar with it, right before you get to the library, there's a little gazebo right there in the woods, in the trees, and that is a stairway that goes down into the parking garage. So that stairway would come up and come into the main lobby of the proposed county 6-story office building at that time. So came back, architects estimated in order to put those support pier structures to support that type of building, it would cost the county $350,000. Mr. Mankin presented it to the full commission. Full commission supported it, thought it was a great idea, thinking that at some point in time we're going to need that extra space. So this commission invested $350,000 in support piers that have never been seen since that time, except if you run into it while you're trying to park, because those piers are there. That's another option. If you choose to, so first option would be go forward with the bid that we got on HVAC. Second option is to tear down Goldstein's, build a new one, but then you've got to figure out where you're going to displace everybody until it would take 18 months, 2 years to build a new building. I guess you could go back over to the old bank and rent that we sold. I don't know where we'd put everybody. And then the third option is to approach the city and ask them if they would mind if we built a building on property that we own. Because it might disturb the fountain or anything else, but I think there is some, I don't know how favorable that would be to the city, but that's the dilemma that we have moving forward. Ben says he can keep that, probably all the different units patched until we can move into a new building and build one. But I'm looking for direction tonight. You all give me direction.
Mr. Chairman, does the Goldstein's building incorporate election and building and codes? So it'd really all three of those enterprises?
Got Mike's office in there.
Engineering, plus the state soil, they still up there?
I think state soils, aren't they moving out?
They're there till June.
Until June, they're moving out. State soils.
Did we lose a tenant?
They're just going from a physical
virtual
office space to everything's working remotely.
We consumed the judicial building with the fourth floor for the child protect, the third floor for child protect.
District Attorney's Office.
Do we have any vacant floors over there at the North 20? Do we have any vacant floors at North 20?
Yes.
With the Child's Protective Services, we filled it out? Okay.
Yeah, we've got IT on 4th and 5th floor, Child Protective Services on 3rd, and probation will be on 1st and 2nd.
Did we discuss building a new library out at Blackman? Was that been part of the?
Yes, we have. And matter of fact, that's kind of sketched in on our presentation. The city is still very much interested in doing that and possibly building some other ones around the county and more regional or neighborhood type libraries. And it's been in casual, nothing official, but casually, I think the city would like to have that library building to expand into.
So that was the second part of my question. If the new library were going to be built, who would control the existing library, and could that be space for our department? So that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was.
Do we jointly own it, or does the county own the library?
Well, it's the building is joint, I believe, along with the parking garage, and it was suggested that they would like to have that space, and we could use part of that space as well. Which is I guess an option if we decide to go into the library and displace the library. But there was a period of time because of the issues they were having with the number of homeless coming into the library that they shut it down just last month for several weeks. They were getting too many complaints from patrons who were wanting to come in, and we had a lot of homeless. There was in talking to a lady that helps that segment of our community, has been talking to several, and just over the last 60 days we've acquired about 40 new homeless that have come in, and they've been given one-way bus tickets to come to our community from 3 different cities in East Tennessee, and they get off right there at the old Gold's Gym. So these are all issues that we have to talk about for our property.
So that's a fourth option is
Yes, sir.
to negotiate for the existing library, if indeed.
Yes, sir. But we got to start somewhere, and that's whatever the committee wants to do. I'll be happy to start those negotiations.
So if it's a $1 million choice or 755, I don't quite understand the bids, but regardless, how functional is the building without this? How long do we have to make a decision, or we need to go ahead and do this HVAC?
He can keep the heat and air going for a few more years.
Nothing's broken. It's just, nothing's broken. It's just outdated.
We had some money in the governor's enhancement grant, and we thought of using that, and choosing to do that. But some of the commissioners felt like that we're just pouring good money into bad. So that's where we need to have a serious discussion on where do we go.
Mr. Chair, I guess my preference would be to keep the woods and the gazebo, if possible, and to relocate our department somewhere until we could get a new building. So
you're talking about not building a new building on the woods.
Yes, yeah. Keep the woods and the gazebo. Let that stay as is, and then see if we can relocate temporarily the departments that's in the Goldstein building until we could build a new building there.
And at that location?
At that location.
Yeah, we could take it all the way down to the basement. I guess there's a large basement. We could probably rent Maple Street Grill. It's vacant.
Would you repeat that? We didn't hear it over here.
Yeah, we could possibly look at leasing the Maple Street Grill. It's vacant. We were thinking about possibly Binks over here, but it just got a sign put in the window, so it's going to be the Red Bicycle, a new coffee and crepe shop is coming. So we want to keep the integrity of the square, historical, but this is a property management decision.
And I like the idea that if we build a new building there, that we do the architectures or make it look antique-ish or old for the integrity of the square.
I was thinking that maybe we could put the Goldstein building up for sale if we build another place, or could locate them in one of our other places permanently, that we could sell the Goldstein building and put clothing store or something of that nature in, because Murfreesboro's always wanting to have the square for their use. This would be bringing back taxes into us, both county taxes and property tax. So that was my thinking. And if we put them over there where the gazebo is, they still within their parking lot. They like to hold that parking lot, the employees will. That was, now, I don't know.
On the Goldstein building, I think Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Cook, and myself was on property management under Mayor Burgess. You remember we looked at 6 or 7 plans on office space, And I think Commissioner Paul Johnson brought up about selling the Goldstein building at that time. Do you remember Commissioner Johnson in discussing that? So selling the Goldstein building is an option. You know, we can look at that.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Johnson.
why couldn't we consider where the old jail building was? I mean, it's up for sale or whatever now. Building a new office building there, and then do something with the Goldstein building, you know, so that's an option there somewhere along the way. What we need to look at is for the growth and the most prudent thing to do right now to address that will be less intrusive on everybody involved.
Yes, sir. What we'll talk about here in a few minutes is our one-stop out on Ms. Kroll's going to be locating, and along with the state of Tennessee, this board and the commission decided to move forward and go ahead and put in an additional 4,000 square feet. So one department, like elections, could possibly move there. You know, it's just we're 18 months away from anything. You know,
I think that with the future demand for the county to have property in the downtown area, I think that it would be good to keep the Goldstein building property instead of selling it. I mean, we're always looking for land in, 20, 30, 40 years. We're really going to be needing more downtown land.
yeah.
Mr. Mayor, did you say that we had to ask for permission to build where the gazebo is?
Well, no, ma'am. We don't really have to, but I think it would be prudent and politically prudent on our part to at least, because I'm sure that no one on the city council, including the city mayor, would remember any of that discussion and don't even realize that we have support piers there that we put in the ground, and they'd be shocked that we might tear up their fountain.
Mr. Chairman.
It'd be a mess for a while. We'd probably have to close off Vine. Think about all the implications of everything we'd have to do.
Trey, you like the thought of leaving that amenity, that space as an amenity. It's attractive. It's just a nice asset.
Yes, and how many acres are we talking about over there for a potential office space?
It's less than half an acre. But
For
why,
the
they
old
went up
jail,
six
it's half an
stories.
acre. Oh, that one?
So, how many acres is that, Mike?
The where the gazebo
Yes, sir.
is located.
So inside the yellow line is ours?
Yeah, 1.24 acres is county property.
How many?
About an acre and a quarter.
So you see, we do have half of the library.
So did you mention that the library was looking to move or to divide up in smaller regional libraries?
Yeah, Rita Shacklet is very much interested in moving out into going along with the city and going into neighborhoods.
And so that could free up that building to remodel it. So
That's correct. Yes, sir.
I think that the gazebo, the little wood area, I mean, you have gatherings down there, and it's just a nice spot to have that little extra property for this little green space. And
We keep putting lots of money in the Goldstein building, and that's what I was thinking about. It seemed like nearly every year we have almost $1 million we have to put into it to keep it up, and that's expensive. So, and Murfreesboro wanted retail property, and I thought, well, this is a good chance that somebody can buy it and have retail on the bottom and maybe apartments above. I don't know what their plans are, but that was my thinking. And if we got a cheaper place to go to, that can be considered too.
But you did say on the Goldstein building that Ben could keep it going another couple of years.
Ben, you feel like you can keep it patched?
Yeah, I can make it run, yes, sir. I mean, if we have to replace a unit or two, it's not going to, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It's just, you know, that it's just not a good design, and for the building, we're trying to do too many areas with too few units, and so everybody's battling over the temperature controls, and so that's the biggest problem. And we can't really reduct it. We would have to, if we tried to reduct the building, and then that would be about like gutting it to try to do that. And so that's why we went with the system that we went with, so that it was the least obtrusive system to get everybody in there okay. But we can make what's there run without, I mean, that's not going to be a problem for us.
So, purchasing the other night, we took the 2 quotes under advisement. The next morning, the cheapest quote that we had was 800 or 700, right at 800,000. And he called Ben and said that the company had left off quite a few things in their bid, so that disqualified them. So we're back to only one bid, still taken under advisement. It's not necessary that we accept that bid. We can reject it as well. If you would prefer, but instead of having to make a decision tonight, I can approach Mayor McFarland on your behalf and just kind of take the temperature of let him talk to some of the city councilmen and see where they might be as far as what we do, either with Goldsteins or, because it will affect them. But yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Motion to defer.
I'll second it.
What? Have a second. Any more discussion?
Do you want me to move forward and to have that discussion?
What was the motion?
Our motion is
To defer the talk
Defer
about
next
the
month.
Goldstein building until next month.
And then what are we going to do while we defer it? Get some information?
well, that's what I need to know. I'd like for you to,
Let him
do you want
discuss
me
with the city.
to start talking to the city on and share with them our options and take the temperature on that. Whatever you want me to do.
I think so, and maybe get into a more detailed discussion with Ms. Shacklet about the library to see if they made any plans, or is it on the horizon, or can we speed it up?
Yeah, the one at Blackman, we actually have kind of drawn out, Mike had drawn it on our plan for the one stop that would be adjacent to the building we're getting ready to start construction on.
Yeah, I would like that conversation, and then, fill in the waters with the city on.
Sure. Yeah, because if we do that out there on that piece of property, they would have to also agree to pay 50% out there as well. So I guess I need to sit down and talk to the mayor.
If we were to, so the half of the library is owned by us and half is the city,
Yes, sir.
so they'd probably want us to buy them out.
Yeah.
Well, they still got vacant property where they left the old police station there too. So what are they gonna do with all that?
I don't have a clue.
We can discuss that with them also.
Well, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I would think you would have a good discussion with the city of Murfreesboro about all that property down through there, including the old police station.
Yep.
Anybody, do all committee members understand what we're talking about? Okay, if we clear on that, then I guess we can call the roll on deferring.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next on the agenda is archives.
Okay, here's the update on the archives building, the exterior wall panels. This report was from last week, so this is a little behind. I think the exterior wall panels are a little further than 80% complete. They should have been completed yesterday, or actually Monday, but I don't think they were. Probably Tuesday. The shelving, Mr. Lodell's shelving is 100% complete. The dumpster pad is 100% complete. The curbs are 95% complete. The irrigation is 95% complete. The scissor lift to take the records to the second floor is 100% complete, and the substantial completion should be less than a week away. They'll probably be cleaning up the site sometime next week, I would think.
Question on archives? Commissioner Dodd?
Ben, time from substantial completion to us getting CVO and occupying, what do you guess that might be?
I'm sorry.
The time between substantial completion to actual occupying the building, what?
John Lodell's already had his shelves delivered, and so pretty much as soon as the contractor pulls off and the fire marshal okays it and the city okays it, and we can start hauling records in there. And I think he's already been working on the schedule to bring records from that warehouse in Smyrna or Laverne. So we're really close as far as taking occupancy.
Okay. Next on the agenda, 20 North.
The 20 North building, the air conditioning control people are 90% complete. Doors and the hardware 100% installed. The security cameras are 100%. The fire alarm is complete, less the third floor. Elevator modernization on the west side is 100% complete. The third floor new construction is 50% complete. Drywall they're still hanging drywall, installing doors. They started painting this week. The low voltage is 100% complete. Floor prep for the flooring within the next 2 weeks. The fire pump replacement is 100% complete. The punch list for the fourth and fifth floor where the IT folks are moving is 100% complete. The furniture for the fourth and fifth floor is 100% complete. And I've got a notification today from Nashville Office Interiors that the first and second floor furniture is in their warehouse. He's just waiting on the data for me to schedule it for them to bring it. The contractor that's going to be repairing the roof, I got an email from them this week. They said that the material will be delivered to Rackley Roofing, which is there in Carthage, Tennessee. The material will be delivered to them on the week of the 5th, and they said they would begin construction or begin repair within 2 to 4 weeks after they get the material on site. And we've also got a roof consultant that's he's going to oversee the work to make sure that everything goes in. Since it's a repair, we don't really have an architect to oversee or an engineer to oversee it, so we've hired a consultant just to kind of keep an eye on those guys. So he's been talking to them and getting their schedule and taken care of.
Mr. Chairman, Brett told me, their superintendent told me yesterday, I went over and took a tour with him, and he said they're probably 2 weeks away from IT being able to move in into the fourth and fifth floor. It's going to be a little bit longer, but guaranteed by May 1st, because probation has to move out of their location. Our lease runs out, and so they should be
May 1st.
May 1st for probation, maybe June 1st for third floor, Children Protective Services. But, you know, it's just about done.
Good.
I got a question of the committee. Would the committee like to take a tour of the 20 North building before it get occupied?
Yeah, we could do that. We could set that up. And,
Tour for the committee.
and then we also would like to once IT gets in, you know, maybe sometime in June or something like that, have an open house, you know, to the general public on a Sunday afternoon, let people come in, you know, and let them see what we've been able to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice addition.
Okay. Any other
Would you
que-
like to come next month, maybe early or go late after this meeting?
Probably do like we're doing this month, go late after the meeting, because we got a meeting right after this meeting and discussing delinquent
Taxes? Yes,
properties,
sir.
so we
Okay.
can
Okay,
go
well,
late.
Rachel will make sure we put that on the agenda that for those who want to take a tour next month before they get in. Okay.
You said before the meeting?
After.
After the meeting.
After the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next on the agenda, One Stop.
What do you want to take?
Yeah, I talked to Susan Hicks last week. She is the contact person with the state of Tennessee. Everything's met approval there. I sent her our proposal on what we were going to charge per square foot. They are preparing, she's moving forward on that. The Commissioner of Safety has already signed off on it. Once she receives this, and of course they're still doing things remotely, so it's taking time. That's the hard part about federal and state government right now. Everybody's doing stuff remotely. But she will be taking that to the, since I got it to her so quickly, she's planning on taking our proposal to the State Building Commission. It will be on their April agenda for approval, and as soon as that's done, we'll sign they'll sign the lease with us. And so at that point in time, I think Mr. Klein and the PBA will be ready to go, and hopefully by, I'm thinking June, we can start moving dirt. That's our intent.
Any questions on One Stop?
Lisa has brought to us Mr. Klein and the architectural team. We all met with them, and she's got some adjustments she brought to me tonight, some things that she would like to tweak internally, the way he's drawn the plans, and I like her plan better than the architect's because she's the one that's got to live in it. And so we'll get that to him tomorrow and tell him to make the proper adjustments on her behalf.
That satisfactory? Okay.
Closer than we've ever been, Lisa.
Any questions on One Stop? All right, next on the agenda, community care.
We met with community care with the contractor and the architect on Monday. They're something that they're working through. They're trying to figure out what they can put on those block walls out there to keep them from looking like block walls, and the hallway is narrow, so they're having to work through some different materials to make sure that they don't lose any more space in the hallways. But that project's moving. That's where the hallway and the room, whatever they're going to use on the block, that's kind of a critical item, and so we're trying to work through that as quick as we can. But other than that, they're still working at it. They're working through the fixtures and everything. So.
Okay. Any questions on community care? Okay, any other business to be brought up tonight? Other business.
Siegel.
Legal? Single.
We're going to wait and bring that up. I really didn't know whether to bring this up at Public Works or Property Management because it is a piece of property that we own, but probably the best place to bring it up would be Public Works. It's what I'm making reference to is the one of the two red lights that we own, the county owns. And the one that's in question is the one at the entrance to the Nashville Speedway. Mr. Hughes brought it to my attention that there's a race being planned to reopen and revitalize the Nashville Speedway, and there's a big race planned for the Alley, which is General Motors Finance Group, Alley 400. And I saw the other night they're actually going to be adding on to the grandstands to accommodate more people. But as soon as you get off, the exit is that red light that belongs to us, and it hasn't, I don't know when the last time there was anything operational out there. It's got to be over 10 years ago. So I called S&W, who services those, and it's been flashing for the last 10 or 12 years. So the sensor cameras that sense the motion to activate the light, both have gone bad, and to bring the actual light fixture up to current specs, we were looking at, the bid was $23,000. So I'm gonna toss that to Public Works if that's okay, but just go ahead and inform you that will probably be coming forth, because I know that even though the racetrack is in Wilson County, as soon as we start getting thousands of cars out there, we're going to get the blame for not having a light that works.
Any question on the light? Okay, if not, the motion to adjourn. Good evening. I would like to call the Committee for Delinquent Taxes to order. First of all, this meeting of the Delinquent Tax Committee is being conducted electronically pursuant to Governor Bill Lee's Executive Order 16. I would ask for a motion that conducting the meeting electronically is necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Got a motion, a second? Do we hear a second? A second. Call the roll. I don't even know.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon, Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Buchanan,
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo.
Yes. Okay, call on Deputy Director Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members, Mayor. These properties you've seen except for one. First, to give you just a quick little note, the County Commission established the Delinquent Real Estate Property Tax Delinquent Real Property Tax Committee on October 15, 2020. So what this entails is that when we get ready to do, we've got proper channels and what we're to do, and this is finalizing that proper channel. So basically, the properties that we've given to you before, we have a sample letter that I mentioned a while ago that's gone to the attorney's office. He will approve that, tweak it if all possible, or if it needs to be tweaked, and then come back to us. And this is a form letter that we've established so we could place the property tax parcel and map numbers in here. Also with all bids must be received by no later than a certain date. And we will send these letters out to the surrounding property owners on these pieces of property, as well as place them on our Channel 19 TV show, as well as our website, to get the word out. We want all bids, we want the surrounding property owners, we want anybody possible to bring in a offer on these properties. And the first one is one that you're familiar with. It's map and parcel there. You've got it there on you. It's a .23 acres at Midland Fosterville, and I believe you've got that pulled up, Mike?
Yes, sir.
A little narrow strip right there. I think that piece of property at the back, them or the two side property owners would be interested in this property. The numbers you see on your information there and your booklets, tablets, is what was actually the price that was delinquent, and then the county took the property. Okay, our price that will be sending out on these pieces of property, we've established those last month, and they will stay the same unless you're wanting to change any of those. And that first one is a $5,000 offer is what we would be putting on there. Now, they may come back with something else, something different on any of these pieces of properties. As long as it's over that number that you see in number 1 right there, then we would be good. We could go ahead and we could close that property, and there not be any situation. Whatever happens on there and we have an offer, we must place the ad in the paper for 10 days, according to our state statute, for 10 days to get any other offers. Okay, and then we can go ahead and close that piece of property as long as that number's over that. If it's not, if it's $1 under there, then we'll be bringing this back to this committee first, and then y'all would forward it on then to full commission for an approval if it's less than this dollar amount. Hopefully I've explained that in a way that everyone understands, because I had to say it to myself 3 or 4 times to make sure I understand. So if there's any questions about that, please ask. There is no crazy questions, but if that number on the sheet there, if it's lower than that, then it will need to come back to this body and then full commission to approve it, if it's under that number. If it's over that number, then it's fine. The mayor, according to this document and the Tennessee Code annotated, we could go ahead and close that property. Okay? We still have to put it in the paper for 10 days, see if there's any other offers, if we only got one offer, but that's the only conclusion. Number 2 there is 4.0 acres. If you can pull that one up, Mike. And Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, do you want to take all these at once, or do you want to?
We can take them all at once, I'm thinking.
It's whatever.
What do the committee think? Combine them all?
Okay.
And also
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Buchanan can sit in on this committee, but she can't vote because she wasn't a part of this committee at the time. At the time it was set up.
Okay.
But if you want to stay, it's fine.
The county attorney is on Zoom if we want to confirm with him.
Okay.
But Commissioner Gooch made the motion. Commissioner David Gammon seconded, so they're not part of it.
There you go.
Commissioner Gooch made the motion for the committee. Commissioner Gammon made the second to create the committee with Dodd, Johnson, Cook, and McAdoo as the members. So the rest of you can leave, or you can stay and listen. Those are the only voting members.
Commissioner Buchanan, where are you going?
Wait, why didn't they volunteer Veronica? Come back, Veronica.
We can easily put you on the committee.
That's right. That's right.
The county attorney is on Zoom if anyone has a question with him.
Okay, continue on with the properties.
So far, so good, County Attorney?
Can you hear me, Steve?
Yes.
You were doing better than I could do.
Okay.
Continue on.
All right. Our number 2 is the 4.0 acres. If you can pull that up.
Yes, sir.
Mike?
Oh, no, I'm on the wrong one. That's 3.0. Sorry.
Is that the East Trimble?
There we go.
Okay. Landlocked piece of property. Also, we would send out a letter to all the surrounding property owners and do the very same thing. This number that's on number 2, that's where we acquired the property. We had put a $30,000 price tag on that property. As long as we get something over that's on number 2, that's in black and white, and we're not revealing those prices, then we're good. If not, then they would come before this committee, and then y'all would send it on to full commission.
So the delinquent tax is privileged information? It's not public record? Or the amount we had to pay to clear the tax debt and thus acquired the property is not public information?
It could be. I've just...
It is public record.
Okay, it is public record.
Recording it,
okay.
That information.
So you can say that number if you wanted to.
So if anybody does more than this $4,000 debt or cost we incurred,
yes,
we can sell it, but we're going to send them a letter at a greater amount.
Yes.
And when we voted on that letter, or the greater amount, we didn't know this.
Correct.
I wish we had known this before we send a letter for $30,000.
We can adjust those if we want to tonight, because what I'm going to put on these letters is what we approved. If you want to adjust those.
Do you have any thought on that, Chairman? Do you have any instinct on any relationship to this price and the asking price, or are they completely two different separate numbers?
My understanding, this is our first meeting of the Delinquent Tax Committee. So, being the first meeting, I knew that we would probably not have some information like coming from Chancery Court or whatnot. So I think we can set some rules tonight, since this is our first meeting. So if you want to have an idea or whatever, you can bring it up, and we can go from there. But I don't look to go into the Chancery Court figure and all that good stuff tonight, because this is our first meeting. And basically speaking, I'm looking at the letter that's going out. Much more so than the amount. Make sure that we're following everything legally based on our county attorney on what we plan on doing.
And so if so we have a conversation, the letter in draft form goes to the county attorney, he approves it. At what point will a price be attached to that blank and it's sent? Do we have to?
As soon as it's approved as a form letter,
okay,
then all the letters will be the same from here on out, unless we tweak them.
Except for price.
Price and location are the two things that's going to be different.
Without this, we established a price with we kind of did some internal comps, right?
Internal values.
You guys just like looked at properties and
it's a very good point, Commissioner. If you would rather us to get our money back, so to speak, and get this back on the tax roll without making a profit, we could go with the numbers that you have here in bold black on each one of these, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a couple of comments on the very last one there, but we could just put that number in there. This gets the tax paid, this gets the property to whoever purchases it, and it gets it back on the tax roll. And that's, like the Mr. Chairman said, this is our first one, and I think once we knock the dust off of this first meeting and these first piece of properties, then we can address them all. We can get in a groove then about what you're wanting, what we need to be doing.
Okay. Steve, to clarify something, basically then, we'll just go back to number one.
Okay.
There's $2,244.71 in back taxes that's due, correct?
Well, that's what we acquired the property for. That's when we took the property.
Okay.
Because of
Now,
non-payment of taxes, so then it went through our...
The $5,000, is that what you're looking at is at the appraised value of it now?
Yes, sir.
And the $30,000 appraisal on this, on the second one?
Yes, sir.
And
we tried to get as close as we could, but then again,
right,
you know, to the value of the property, some of it's desirable, some of it's not desirable. And things happen while we acquire property.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Another point I'm gonna bring up real quick, you know, right now we're looking at delinquent properties outside the city municipalities. But once we start looking at delinquent properties within the city municipalities, they're gonna have a price on that property too. So I don't know if we're going to have to let them do their delinquency separate, or we're going to do it all together. I don't know. So the
there may
attorney
be,
will need to be looking at that too.
There may be competing debt.
Right.
But will there be, we won't discuss this unless we own it.
That's right.
Oh, so that.
This is Rutherford County's property.
Okay.
Everything that we're looking at.
And I think we need to be cautious that some of this property may be extremely valuable, I mean, conceptually. And what I don't want to do is set a precedent that we're only going to do what we paid, because there could be some strange commercial corner, and it would be foolish to the taxpayer to give that away. So I do want to be careful of how we do this.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Hey, just to build on, this is Nick. Just to build on what Steve or Deputy Stanlin has said, and to your point, I think you're exactly right, and Deputy Stanlin's right that I think what you do depends on the property that we're talking about. So if you have an undesirable piece of property, you would want to be conscientious of setting a minimum bid that's too high, because you might not get any bidders. And there's no requirement that you set a minimum bid at all. So for a particular property that, you know, you might only get a $50 bid for because it's so undesirable, you might not want to set too high a bid. To Steve's point, if any bid comes in that is lower than the figure that you got on the sheet, that is the amount of the delinquent property owed, the delinquent taxes owed that we paid, you have to go get county commission approval to actually sell it. Now, if, like what Deputy Sandlin said, if you have a very desirable piece of property, it may behoove you all to set a fair market price, because the law actually requires you to set a fair price on each of these tracts. So you can do that, and hopefully you get some bids that are at that price, and could spur competition between other people. Mr. Sandlin would know more about the desirability of the properties than I would, though.
Thank you, Nick. So it's safe for us to look at each of these individually. We're not discriminating if we say, dump this one, and we say, whoa, we're jacking the price up on this other one, because we're using fair market consideration.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome.
But with that is a real good argument that you brought up. If we don't get that 30,000, or if we don't get whatever, you know, we're as long as we get this number over here in the black,
yeah,
then we can sell it.
Is our criteria for which is the property that has no value and we want to dump it? What's our criteria? A consensus of our individual knowledge, and we reach a consensus, and that's what we put in the form letter? With, like the sliver of land that's the easement, or even this, well, the sliver of land that's the easement may be the least desirable on this list. We can determine it's at the just give us the money that it's due and put that in a letter.
But it was my understanding that if we had a piece of property that was less desirable, that we would contact the surrounding property owners to see.
With the letter.
Yeah, with the letter.
Okay.
Yeah, to see if they were interested in it.
Sure, absolutely. I agree completely.
That was my understanding.
But setting the price that we're going to put on the letter is up to this body, period. Our wisdom and awareness of the market, and
We're asking. I'm sure they're going to come back with a different number.
Okay.
I would say it's probably not going to be higher, but it may be less. It may be considerable less.
And I don't want to go 30,000 on a landlocked piece that only one person may be interested in, and it's so much above what we need to take, or
I agree.
that we blow the chance of getting any numbers. So
Yes, sir.
I think we've got to
with you.
relook at what we had placed on these previously. So that's where we're back to that. So do we decide on the first one that it's going to go out at, I don't know if we can do these all at once.
I thought we've agreed to look at all of them at one time.
We were going to do all four of them, right? And
at one time.
One at a time, because the first one, so therefore, are we going to set a price? Are we going to set 4 prices here tonight? 4 different, okay. What did we do with number 1? Forgive me. What price is on number 1?
5.
All right.
And we
I
can
think
adjust
30's
that
too
if you
high.
want to. Like I said, I don't.
I think 30's too high on this one.
On the number 2?
I do.
Okay.
On the Trimble Road 065 that's landlocked,
Okay.
I'm concerned that it's going to dispense any opportunities to get bids. It's just kind of a gut feeling, Steve.
I totally understand.
If that's beyond your market awareness, then stop me, but that feels high.
I don't have any heartburn either way, because I think our main point here is trying to get these properties back on the tax roll, and in doing so, it's going to help these property owners probably that's going to be attached or joining these properties. So somebody's going to gain something here. I don't know how much.
How much taxes is owed on that piece right there?
Which one, number 2?
Right.
That's 4132.78. Do you have a?
These figures, see, the $30,000 that you're talking about.
I didn't get a sheet.
Let me get this sheet.
Okay. I got one. She gave me one.
This is the appraised value, property associated.
Yes, sir. We looked.
I mean, you didn't just pull these figures out, nitty-gritty.
Correct. Did not.
How long have we gone with this property?
Mike, do you have anything on that?
Not in front of me. No, sir. But I can.
We should be asking.
That's true. I mean, it's been a while, but I couldn't answer that question for you.
Let's see. Okay, 2013. I'm sorry. 2013 is when we acquired the property.
And
2013?
to Carol's point, that's a good idea. We've had costs that have incurred since this debt. And to Paul's idea, I mean, this is only $7,500 an acre, and that does sound marketable. So I don't want to dispense with all the effort that Steve and the tax assessor have put into this.
Well, some of it's outcroppings of rock, some of it's hillside, some of it's wooded, some of it's, really is going to be a challenge to use. And you would look at the first one, and you would think, who's going to use that 16-foot wide by 4,000-foot strip or whatever it is? That person that's landlocked behind it needs it very bad. So, and the other 2 property owners. So hopefully that person, comes out with it. It's not much, but it means a lot to them to be able to get to the property. I don't think, Commissioner, there's a right or wrong answer on this. I just our main purpose is try to get these back on the tax rolls.
Okay, and thanks for bearing with me. I'm having to process this out loud and in public, perhaps to my embarrassment. But Paul, we worked this out last month. We established those prices. We confirmed they were had wisdom behind them and some substance, right? Okay. And do we have prices for all four of these, or was this fourth one another topic because it's new to our conversation?
The fourth one is a new subject. This is on Bragg Road. If you want to go ahead and pull that one up, Mike, we'll jump over to that one. I think this property was actually put back on the tax rolls just a few years ago, I think in 18, yes. Constructed in 2018. If look up here, and it's on your tablet as well, they built the house. You can see where the lot is. Part of it's red and part of it's yellow. This yellow part is part of another site, another lot. We didn't sell that lot because it's not a buildable lot. So this other lot, well, they built their house too big, so they're actually over 15 feet in this other lot. If you see the next picture on Bragg Avenue, the next picture actually shows in the back there, they've got a fence that's all the way encroached all the way over to the border of that second lot altogether. So they're kind of in a pickle here. They really need this lot, or really need this. And our thought process on that, and myself and Mike talked about it, need a survey with setbacks with a combo on this combination lot, combination plat, and we would want them to do that. So draw this lot out with the setbacks and reconfigure that. And actually, you see the number there that to put it back on, that's what the 1,400, but really, I think this is a part of a $10,000 lot to go with this piece of property. And I don't know, we could get into some legal stuff on this one probably if we're not careful, because they're the ones that encroached over on this lot. So we're putting something on here for them. This is an avenue for them not have to go through court and have an issue and litigation and all that. And this would, according to us, what we're presenting to you, would fix it, would get them out of the hot water, so to speak.
And
10,000
plus plus.
Now that's number 4. Oh, number 3, we said 30 on that one as well, but we could 30. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the 10,000 plus the cost to create one plat combining both tracks, Mike?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes, combination plat. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Which could cost how much?
Probably, I'm guessing around $2,000, because you'll have to send a survey crew out to locate all the property corners and locate, and then draw up the plat itself.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson, you got a question? You got any more questions, Commissioner Dodd?
I don't think we need to be 30. Not the management into the figures and the numbers. I think we need to leave like you are, because you've done due diligence on the appraised value of it, and it'd be a bargain to get that for $1,478 if it's valued at $30,000, and they had to be paying taxes on it at the $30,000 for it.
Yes, sir. But
how much they think it's worth to them.
Sure. But I will throw out there, we're trying to get these properties back on the tax roll. So if we can get them back on the tax roll at less of a price, I mean, I'm all good. That number that's printed here in bold, we definitely got to have that. And so I'm saying it's not a huge deal, on all of these right here to go that 30,000, but I'm just saying, in all perfect days, and land is pretty expensive right now per acre, and we need to consider that
That's a negotiated.
to a certain degree. Yes, sir.
Negotiable figure. You got to have that at least.
Yes, sir. What's in bold? Yes, sir. Well, not necessarily. I say that. Nick, I said that, but I'm going to go back to, if we get something less than that bold number right here, we're going to advertise it for 10 days anyway in the paper. We're going to come back to the committee if we don't have anything else. This is all we got for that piece of property. And then you'll have to send it to full commission to get a full commission approval to let it go at whatever that number is.
Hey, Deputy, can I just flesh that out just a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Hey, just real quick. So, you know, the hope is that you all get a bunch of bids. I don't know if that's likely. But whatever bids you get, the ones that are going to be arranged for a sale is going to be the highest bid you get, okay? And once you get that high bid, if it is below the delinquent tax that's owed, then we've got to run that up the flagpole to the county commission, okay? But we don't know if that's going to happen, so let's just not think about that right now. Let's just assume that we're going to get at least what we're owed for what we paid. If we get there and we get the high bid on any of these parcels, the law requires that we put in the newspaper that we have got a high bid on parcel A, parcel B, parcel C, parcel D, whatever. And we've got to put the name of the high bidder and the price of the high bid. We got to run that in the newspaper. And any other party has 10 days from the date of that publication to make an increased offer to the county mayor. And if somebody makes a higher offer, it has to be 10% higher than the high bid that we published. Otherwise, we don't consider it. But assuming that it is, then this is kind of our archaic statute, but it requires the competing bidders to then come to the county mayor, and then the county mayor does like a little bidding auction of who's going to bid the highest, and he awards it to whoever at that meeting bids the highest for the property. I don't think we'll get there on any of these, but the fact remains that once we have a high bid from any of these properties, we've got to publish that high bid in the newspaper, and we got to wait 10 days to see if anybody else makes a bid that's 10% higher.
So, and I didn't mention that, Nick, I'm proud you mentioned that, the 10% higher than the bid that we got in, and then we have to go back to that original bidder, and does their bid have to be 10% higher than the last one, or we just keep going back and forth 10% until somebody gives up?
Yeah, so it says, if anyone during such 10 days increases the offer made for the land by 10% or more, the party making the first offer, which is the original high bidder, shall be notified, and the date fixed when both parties shall appear and make offers. The tract of land shall be sold to the party making the highest and best offer. So it doesn't say that it's got to be 10%, 10%, 10%. It's just that initial challenging bid has got to be 10% higher than the original high bid that we published.
I got you. Good, I learned something tonight. So, and I hate to muddy the water at all, but if we went to auction on this, would we have to put it back in the paper and redo it after the auction?
Do you mean that if you scrapped the idea for a particular parcel to send letters out and to advertise on the channel and the internet or whatever, and instead you just said, hey, we're going to auction this property off? Is that the scenario that you're presenting?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. I would be a little concerned about going through that, because you've got this whole statutory process that lays out once you get the high bid, you got to publish it. You're suggesting that you do the auction and you get a high bidder, and then from there, you publish that high bid in the newspaper.
Yeah, I think that's double jeopardy there. I think if you were auctioning the property, you've already advertised it, you've already put the signs out, you're selling it that day, best and high bid is what you're going with, whether it be below this number or higher this number, you're done. It comes to the committee and full commission to approve. If it's above this number, then the mayor can sign off on it and it close. But
Yeah,
I don't want to
think
muddy
that's
the water on this process. This process, I've got it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good idea for other types of properties, like remember you did that with the, what was the property on the corner there that you did the auction?
The bank.
Yeah, the bank. So properties like that we own outright and that aren't delinquent taxes, I think we can do. But for properties like this one, I don't think we can do that same procedure.
Okay. Just last month, we decided to sell in the fall sometime the old jail building by auction. And so we're going to sell it the same way as we did the bank, but it has nothing to do with this process.
That's right. That's exactly right. These are special in that no one bid on these when they went to the delinquent tax sales, and because of that, the county was required to pay the amount owed. And I believe that the county actually wrote a check to the clerk and master's office for these properties for this amount, and so we've got to treat these special, unlike the jail that you just referred to and then the bank building.
The difference is the delinquent tax is the situation here of how we acquired the property. It was through not paying the taxes.
Exactly.
And that's why we're having to go through this TCA codes step by step.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Any questions? Commissioner Johnson, you got a question? Commissioner Dodd, got a question? Commissioner Cook? Okay.
I do, just to confirm, Mr. Chairman, 1, 2, 3, 4, what we've mentioned, are we leaving those numbers there, or are we adjusting those numbers?
I recommend we leave them there.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
Okay.
We need a motion to that effect? Your motion by Commissioner Johnson to leave the numbers as is, second by Commissioner Dodd. We're going to call the roll on that.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other business to come before the Delinquent Property Tax Committee? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Cook.